My name is Camille Personi with Positive Futures Dog Training, and today we're going to cover fun games that you can play to teach your dog how to come when called, how to reliably get them to come away from distractions or when they're really excited and over aroused. Alright, and we have 5 games for you today to work on your recalls. We'll start with really basic foundational skills, moving on to gradually more challenging recalls and more challenging activities. We'll also have a bunch of modifiers to make sure that the games we play with our dogs are well suited to our dog's temperament, their skill level, what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy. We all know some dogs, once they're out of the house are not super interested in food, or toys are not that interesting out of the backyard. So we want to make sure you guys have the tools to make the rewards very, very valuable for your dog so that your recall is always going to be reliable and quick. So our first game is the check-in. What we want to make sure before we even take our dogs off leash is that they're able to automatically check in with us without us having to prompt them. So what that looks like is going on a walk. Usually we'll start on a long line so that the dog has a little bit of freedom, and every time my dog looks back in my direction without me saying anything, I'm going to mark and reward that behavior. Why do we want this? Because if our dogs can't offer attention in a distracting environment, it's very unlikely they're going to respond to our cues. So we want to have this baseline level of, okay, we're out, there's stuff happening, but still I'll check in periodically with my human to make sure I can still keep going, they're still there. And that makes recalls a lot easier. So for my check-ins, again, I'll usually have my dog on the long line, and as we're walking in any new environment, I will mark. So I'll say yes every time my dog looks back in my direction, and I'll reward them. What you choose to reward your dog can change depending on what your dog likes, or you can kind of switch it up a little bit to also make it more interesting. Sometimes I'll reward food to mouth, so yes, good job. And my dog will come, oh, what? You said yes, that's my cue to get cookies. And I'll give them a treat. Sometimes I'll mark yes and toss them a treat where they are so that they don't have to come back to me. It's really just, you looked at me, good job, here's your cookie. And sometimes I'll reward them by releasing them back to the environment. So they check in, yes, good job. They come in, okay, go back to exploring. So that exploring and the freedom is the reward for checking in. And the more they check in, the more freedom that they get. And our second game is the Primacy Principle, which is essentially, if you want to have dessert, you have to eat your vegetables first. And when it comes to off-leash behaviors and recalls with our dogs, that means, hey, if you check in with me and touch my hand, you'll get to go back to what you were doing. You get to go sniff, you get to go say hi, you get to go play, whichever activity they were either engaged in before we call them or that they're really looking to get into. This is really powerful because you're using the distraction as a reinforcer. So your dog learns, oh, there's a squirrel. Hey, human, can I go chase a squirrel? Sure. And then you can give them permission to do the thing instead of them blowing you off in the first place and then resisting any attempt for you to get them back because, I don't know, the human is calling me away because they don't want me to have fun, kind of a thing. So instead, we want to use the environment as a potential reinforcer so that it's very easy to reward our dogs for coming when called, for checking in with us consistently. One of the ways we're going to do this is by doing a hand target. So we're going to ask our dogs to touch our hand with their nose. And as soon as they do it, yes, good job, we're going to release them back to what they were doing, and that's going to be our reward. Our third game is called the Whiplash game, and in this game what we want to do is get our dogs pretty much to redirect away from a distraction back to us as quickly as possible. How we're going to do that is initially we'll start by adding a distraction or waiting for your dog to be distracted, so if they're sniffing something interesting, or you can just drop a treat. Your dog is going to go find a treat and you're going to move very quickly in the opposite direction. Encourage your dog to come back to you. When they run as quickly as possible back to you, you're going to mark, toss a piece of food, and then run the opposite direction. So you want your dog to almost be like a yo-yo, going as fast as possible away from the distraction back to you, so then they can get to the next distraction and then back to you, so on and so forth. Our fourth game is going to be Catch Me If You Can, and this is pretty much using chase to get our dogs to come back to us. We all know dogs love to be chased, it's their favorite game. The old, I heard you, I'm just gonna keep going until you chase me around for 20 minutes, which is obviously not something we want to do because we're teaching our dogs that running is very satisfying and fun. What we want to do instead is have them chase us. Hey, you want to play chase? I'll play chase, but you got to catch me. And this is a really nice way to get lots of speed on your recall so that you have dogs that commit to coming back to you the whole way quickly instead of, sure, I'm just gonna sniff stuff and come back. So we want to make sure we have really, really fast recalls. And this is also a really nice way to build value for coming back to the human without having to use traditional reinforcers like food or toys that me, myself, my human is the fun thing I really want to catch up to. So it's a really good skill to have. So to start this game, usually I'll start at a very close distance and I'll start by tagging my dog. So I'll usually just whoop and then I'll run away 2 or 3 steps. When they chase in my direction, same thing, I'll tag them and then run away and then tag them, run away until we can add quite a bit of distance. And they can kind of catch me from 20 feet, 30 feet. And I want that speed, that excitement. I don't want them to hesitate or dilly-dally or think about it. I really want them to, as soon as I move away from them, they're chasing me as quickly as possible. And our 5th game is building off of the game we just talked about, the Catch Me If You Can game. In our 5th game, we're going to do chase to collar grabs or body handling. And this is a really good game for dogs who tend to be a little bit body shy, that don't really love people touching them or hands reaching out for them. Or for those dogs who have learned the game of I come back to you, stop 2 feet short, and as soon as you lean to get me, bye, I'm gonna take off. Because it can be super frustrating for us and also very reinforcing for the dogs, because now we have the human chasing us across the yard for half an hour. So we want to make sure that when we call our dogs, they come close enough that we can easily grab their collar, grab their harness, put the leash on, and then they're not just going to take off as soon as we try to touch them. So the chase and collar grab game is a great way to get that sequence in, so dogs are used to, ooh, when I get to the human, they touch me, and then we play again, and it's not a big deal and it's not something out of the common. And on this game, we're going to have pretty much 2 variations. You'll see, we'll do one with a dog that is a little bit iffy about being reached for, touch, and so we'll do a softer version of more of a tag game of, you can't get me, ah, I got you, and I'm going to run away so that they don't have a chance to take away from me first. With the second dog who loves being touched, we're actually going to make it like a really fun game of almost body slam me. I want you to touch me as much as possible, get all over me, so it's super easy for me to touch you, grab you, even if it's an emergency and I have to literally just snatch you up. It's not going to be a problem. My dog is going to be, oh cool, this is a game we always play. Alright, we hope you enjoyed these games. Now, how long to practice these games is totally dependent on your dog and how quickly they progress. Typically, I recommend the more you do it, the better. But I would still keep it very short sessions. So typically, on an outing with my dogs, we'll play 5 minutes of, oh, check in, good job, touch my hand, okay, go back. And then we'll take a break, we'll start walking, and then we'll do, oh, and again. So that, you know, there's sometimes lapse in between two. You don't want to do them too much back to back, because then you're just getting a dog that's on autopilot, like, oh, whoop-de-doo, I'll pretend we're running away, I'm gonna come back, look at that recall. So you want to try as much as possible to practice in quote-unquote real-life situations with real distractions when your dog is genuinely distracted doing something else, because that will give you a really good gauge of how reliable your dog is and how easy it is to get their attention. If you find that it's very sticky, that it takes a lot of time for your dog to give you that, oh, did you call me? And then to comply and commit to, oh sure, I'll come back to you, that usually means that you should stay at the game you're at or go down one level and build that up before you progress to the next game. Generally speaking, I tend to move on to a more challenging game when I have about an 80 to 90% success rate. So out of 10 times, if my dog comes 8 times, okay, we can add a difficulty, we can add challenge, we can add more distance to it. If it's anywhere below that, I usually will stick in the same place. And if it's really bad and I'm only getting half of the responses, I usually will go back down one level. It might be that the environment that we're in that day is more challenging than we anticipated, or my dog might have an off day. That's fine, just make it as easy as possible. The big thing is for our dogs to enjoy recalls. Recalls should always be easy, super rewarding behavior for them, not this, oh my God, why do they want me to come back? You really want to keep it fun, so I would rather do 2 good reps and call it a day than trying to do 20 reps in a row and just having it be really, really tedious and boring for our dogs. Now, I hope you've enjoyed our tips and tricks today. If you're working on recalls and would like to have more information and know about common questions, common fails, and recall training, make sure to check out this video that we put together for you.